prejudice, we didn't know what that was. I was in high school when I ran into what prejudice really was.
Okay.
Yeah, I was studying with a young lady. Her last name, I won't say her name because I'm not illegally allowed to say it, but her last name began with an H, and she was a very nice lady. She lived in 300 Avenue. From 57 to West River, she lived down at that end. And we would study and all that, and we had an assignment to do a thing together in high school. So we do it in the library, and then she said, well, why don't you come over to my house? And I says, okay, then we can complete the assignment, right? So I did. I went to her house, and I knocked on the door. Her mom came to the door, and they said, hi, Mrs. Such and such. My name is Jerry Williams, and I'm here to study with your daughter because we got an assignment that we got to complete. And she looked at me, she says, and then she shut the door. And I heard her say, Stanley, you need to come here now.
So you're just sitting on the porch like, what's going on?
I'm standing at the back door trying to figure out what's going on. And he came to the door and he said, I introduced myself again because we had to be polite. I introduced myself again. He says, you can't stay there with my daughter. So you can't stay here. You have to get off my property. And he shut the door. She never came back to school. I went by the house a few times and all that. The house ended up being empty. She never came back to school.
Because we got out of our place. He was out of his place. He didn't know his place. So yeah, they would move.
When did you have your Negro wake-up call that you recall?
Oh, gosh. I guess I had mine when we had to go to East Carlisle in 9th grade. The word came down that the schools had to be, Integrated.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was on the news, and it was on the news, and you saw all this stuff on the news of police dogs chasing kids and the hoses and all of this. It's what you're seeing on the news. And they're saying, we've got to do that. We've got to do what? You've got to go on the bus to East Carlisle. And you'll meet at the end of the street, and you're going to get on the bus. And you're going to be all right. And they prayed, anointed us with oil, and they prayed for us, and they said, God is going to take care of you. And we're scared to death. We were scared to death. So they prayed for us. We sung a praise song. We went home. The next morning, everybody walked down to the end of the street to wait for the bus. We'd already walked to school. Well, now we're getting on this bus. So we get down to the end of the street. The pastor's there. They pray for us again. They're singing. I don't remember the song, but I knew they were singing a song. And we got on the bus, and it had to be the quietest bus ride I ever had. And we're just sitting there looking at where we're going. I mean, we've driven down that way before, but that was all their neighborhoods, and their houses. So we're just sitting there. We don't know what to expect. We doing what we're told. And they said this was the law. We had to go because there were no colored kids in East Carlisle. The bus pulls around back, and there's a line of teachers. So when we get off the bus, the teachers greet us and take us to classes. And we wound up maybe 1 or 2 in each class.
Well, see, that's the difference between the South Side and the West Side. They got bused. We had already integrated and didn't know we were integrated. We just figured it was just school.
But what happened was Carlisle, and we were in Carlisle Township, Carlisle was not. By choice, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So when the law came down, you do this or you lose federal funding. I mean, it wasn't like you do this because it's the right thing. Let's call it what it was. Yes. You do this or you lose federal funding. Yes. So it wasn't about, it's time for us to do the right thing. Let's not mix that up. It was, you're going to lose your federal funding. and then you'll lose your state funding. This is how it's going to be. So they didn't have a choice. The teachers were all nice. I mean, if you asked me what her name was or what she taught that day, you couldn't pay me to tell you because I have no clue. At lunchtime, we all had our bag lunch. We took our bag lunch with us. And we all sat at our 2 tables together. I don't know if we ate or just watched each other. We sat over here and they sat all over there. And we looked at them and they looked at us.
Wow.
And gradually, little by little, maybe one of them or two of them would speak to us and we speak to them and we became friends. All people
Foundation.
are made from God, by God. And God decides what color you're going to be, and God decides where you're going to live. So the foundational truth wasn't a black and white truth, it was just the truth.
Mm-hmm. And name what schools did you attend?
Good question. I don't remember.
You don't remember the schools?
No, I don't
Elementary?
remember. I don't remember until the busing came in and said we had to leave the Elyria schools and go to Carlisle.
From the kindergarten to the 5th, the blacks always sat in the back.
And this is
the
at
white
this is
at
at
Edison.
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 Okay.
The whites always sat in the front. The teachers never came back there. Okay, but we still got an education because we wanted one. Okay, we returned in our assignments. Okay, but again, we didn't know anything different than that because that's the way it was back then. We didn't start getting mixed together until in the 5th grade when they started putting everybody in alphabetical order. Okay, that's when we really started mixing, whites, blacks, sit next to it.
The class.
Yeah.
The class.
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
class.
yeah, but that started 5th grade on all the way through. But we did not really, did I feel prejudice? Did I feel racial tensions? No. Not in the early years, no.
We just kept feeling this is the way it is. This is where they sit. This is where we sit.
It was normalized.
Right.
It was normalized in that system.
It was. My grandmother had a 5th grade education, and she said, "You're going to school." It wasn't, do you feel like going to school? What do you think about going to school? It was 2 things. You're going to school and you're going to church. You don't have a vote.
What about when you went to high school? What high school did you attend?
I didn't go to high school.
You
I
didn't
only
go to
went
high
to
school?
junior high. I went from
Wow.
8th grade, and I graduated to 9th grade. But I got pregnant. And when you
Okay.
get pregnant, you don't go back to school. When you got pregnant, you didn't go back to school. You done a grown thing. You think you grown, so you're going to be grown. So you're either going to get married or you're going to go down south to so-and-so's house, Aunt so-and-so, and have the baby, and she keep the baby, and you come back, or you get married.
You got married.
I got married.
You got married.
Were you all around in 1975 during the riots in the summer?
Yes,
I had just got out of the Navy
yes.
when I heard about all of that. Okay, I didn't get involved in much of that because I had just been hired as a corrections officer for Lorain County, so I really couldn't get involved in any of that. Okay, matter of fact, I was the first corrections officer hired by Lorain County.
The black.
I was the first period, and I just happened to be black. I'm corrections officer number 1.
Wow.
That's me.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I was working at the jail, and I'm hearing the radio conflicts and all that. Okay, but I couldn't get involved in any of that.
What did you know about any of that though? Whether you could get involved or not. What was your
The chatter on the radio wasn't good. Okay, I can say that. Because they were not saying young black men this, young black women this. They were using the N-word.
Yeah, they did.
They were using the N-word, okay? And then they were talking about the dogs and hoses. The fire department was standing by. They had it all planned. If
it was on deck.
If it had got beyond what the barrier that they put up, oh yeah, it would have been on point. Okay, it could have got very ugly. Okay, yeah. So that's what
And how did you feel though during that time though?
angry.
because of the case. I mean, I'm talking about the situation that happened to Daryl.
Well, you got because now I'm old enough to begin to recognize
What
the
happened?
conflicts and stuff that's going
Right.
on. Okay, my dad had died, and now I'm in the conflict. I'm in the law department, and I'm the only black there. I'm the only black male there, and Vernon Smith is the one that hired me, but the captains underneath him, they did not like me. They didn't want me there. So now I'm competing with them, trying to do my job,
Then this explodes.
and this explodes. Yeah.
Yeah, you was
and
put,
they-
you was put in a very, very dangerous situation for you.
They did not hesitate using that word even in my presence. They
So
did not hesitate.
That word is used for as an intimidation factor.
As
number one.
that is probably the most derogatory word you can ever say. Okay? But they wouldn't hesitate saying it.
What was your take on the riots there? I mean, during that time.
Just watching it on TV, and there was a time when I was living on Irondale, and the two bars. Okay, I'm Irondale. Woodford has those bars, and the fighting and the people running in the street. And I made my kids stay in the house, and you'd have people knocking on your door saying, "Let me in," and "let me in," and you can't let anybody in because you don't know who's who or who's following who. And I mean, to hear at night, hear gunshots and stuff, and you're in your bedroom with your children trying to think, is this a safe place? Well, then you go in the basement and hope it is a safe place. It definitely ups your prayer life. Definitely ups your prayer life. I thank God, that I know how to pray.
The people out there didn't know was they were in a corral. They were corralled into the Woodford area. They were not going to go any further than that neighborhood right there.
So in other words, you're going to kill each other.
Councilman Bullocks, he was the one who was trying to calm the crowd or something like that. You
And
remember
Ike
that?
Chapman.
Mr. Chapman.
Yeah.
Because they were
Yeah.
respected and people listened to them. And they knew that we were going to hurt ourselves more than we were going to hurt anyone else.
That's the way it was set up.
Yes.
They were not, please. We were not going to get any close. We
the
were
north
not
side.
getting any close to Eastern Heights, Northwood,
Oh, no.
Washington Avenue.
No, we're going.
Wasn't even close.
No.
They said let them Indians burn their own houses down. Let them burn their own bars and stuff down. But they're not getting out of that area. I'm amazed that my dad made it as high as far as he did. He was here at the right time, at the right place. As long as you stay in your
Yeah.
place, you're cool.
That's it.
But once you try to get out of your parameters, it became very, very rough.
Historically, you can see what the redlining was. It decided where you could buy and where you couldn't buy. And you accepted that we can do this, but we can't do that.
I don't accept.
No, I'm saying back then.
Yeah, I challenge the system. That's with me. I've always challenged the system. I never just accepted just to accept. I have fought a lot of fights in Elyria, trying to help black people out, or trying to let the established of Elyria know that we're there. My biggest supporter was my dad. Okay? And after that, nobody. Except my wife. My wife is my backbone, my anchor, and everything. Other than that, I'm not trying to be harsh, but some of them community leaders that were supposed to be leaders, when they ran into some of the stuff that I ran into, they weren't there. They weren't there. Okay, I had to learn that. I had to learn that the hard way. Okay, I really did. Okay, because I'm not saying they were scared. Okay,
They didn't know
but
what
being
else to do.
truthful, they
They didn't know what else to do.
Or you think they were comfortable and didn't want to rock the boat?
That's the word. They didn't want to. But I don't even know if it's that, okay? Because we as a community were really up against was not really addressed. It really wasn't addressed. It was fake like it was addressed, but it never really got addressed. I'm trying not to talk too much about me. The very first thing was trying to become a fireman for the city of Elyria. I went through the Navy. I went to 9 firefighter schools in the Navy. So I know firefighting, inside and out, backwards and forwards. So when I got out, I wanted to be a fireman for the city of Elyria because they had no blacks on the fire department. And I am well qualified to have done that. So a year before I got out, I sent a whole packet to the city of Elyria, asking them, here are my certifications, here are my qualifications. What do I need to become a fireman? 6 months later, I didn't get an answer. So I sent another package to them, including a letter from the Admiral of the Fleet and from my captain telling all my accommodations and everything that I had won, everything that I had earned to become a firefighter. Still didn't get an answer back from the city. So when I got out in February '73, I went down to the city of Elyria and asking them, how do I become a fireman? I sent all this package to you. And they said, well, go to Tracy's office. He was the safety service director at the time. So I went to Mr. Tracy and then told him who I was and all that. He says, I don't know you. I never heard of you. He said, go down to the civil service department in the basement and see if they got something. Well, Oliver Jones was head of civil service in the basement. I went to school with his son, Andy. And he said, Jerry, yeah, I got all your packets here. Man, this is fantastic. He said, yeah, I got all your packets here. Tracy's office sent them down to me. And I said, well, Mr. Jones, what do I have to do to become a fireman for the city of Elyria? And he says, well, you're going to have to take the civil service exam. And I said, well, when is it? He says, in March. And he said, plus you'll get military points, okay? Took the civil service exam, passed it. I was number 9 on the list. The list only lasts for 2 years. They hired 8. 2 years later, I took the exam again. Passed with flying colors. I was number 3 on the list. They hired 2. So I went to the mayor, city council. Mayor was Margaret Bowens. I could say her name. I said, well, you got 9 captains that are going to be retiring. So that money can be used to bring the force up to full strength. She said, you can sit down now. And I said, Mayor, you're not going to answer me? She said, you can sit down now. And I looked back at the black leaders that were supposed to be there supporting me. I looked back at them. They said, we got this, we got this. And that's as far as it got. So I took the exam again. Mysteriously, this time I failed it. They hired 15. You're only allowed to take it 3 times. You see what I'm saying? Elyria hasn't changed. Elyria hasn't changed. Total qualifications complete. I had it all. They were not going to hire me. That's the type of stuff that it's the quiet prejudice that you see. It's here. There's a quiet prejudice. That's
So you're going to say
there.
it's a coincidence that they hired just under his number 3 times in a row? They had to pick their battles. You've got 20 battles facing you. You've got to try, my opinion, to pick one that you can win. You've got to try and look overall and say, okay, we can't do these 5 things, but what can we do? We're minority. We're fighting to hold this job. No offense, we can't get us out to vote. We barely got in here. Come on.
What have we won?
None. The only things that have been won is their names on buildings and streets. Okay? But in the battle range of it,
That's deep.
no, none. We don't support our own.
Thank you. Can't get us out to vote. You can't get us out. You can get us in, sit on the corner. You can get us at church to tell everything that's wrong. But what I'm saying is, you've got to come out and fight for something you want. And it's not wanted bad enough. Because when you take a stand, you just got to stand there. And the wind's going to blow, and the storm's going to come, and people are going to get mad at you and stop talking to you. But you've just got to stand and say, you know what, I'm going to stand right here.
I'm tired of banging the drums. I'm not going to quit. Okay? I'm still going to be out there banging the drums. But we need more people out there banging the drums. I see it in the detention home. Them guys are so lost out there.
What age group, Jerry?
The youngest one I've been mentoring in the detention home has been 11. The oldest one has been 18.
So what do you think that they are missing that you got or that your generation got growing up that they have missed out on?
Parenting.
Families.
Parenting. Community that supports you and tells you, no, you ain't gonna do that. You know better. Your mom wouldn't stand for that. You know who you are. Oh, I'm sorry.
Families. But that's what it is. They're not there. Okay, we got babies raising babies, and none of them want to have babies, but they're having babies, and they push the babies off on the side.
With no directions.
None whatsoever.
Do you think going through the storm,
Parenting.
like we did,
They wouldn't survive.
why?
Because they don't have the education, okay? Because they don't want to get the education, because the government has it set up so easily that you don't have to work. You don't have to get an education, okay? But it's such a system around there trying to get good people out doing stuff, they're not going to do it. They're not. I mean, I talk to them people every Tuesday, and just they'll open up to me, and just to hear some of the stuff they say, okay, it will make your hair stand on end. All right, because they don't have the drive that we've had to go against. Okay,
They don't have the
They don't
parents
have it.
either.
And that's the thing is,
Parenting.
Look, give you an example. I told them, I says, you go in any neighborhood in the older churches. I'm sorry, you go in any neighborhood in the older cities, Elyria and all in the neighborhoods. What did every single neighborhood have in common?
Church.
Nope. Front porches. Front porches. And what were on their front porches? Mothers. Mothers controlled the neighborhoods. The fathers would come home from work, give the mothers a paycheck, hash out any punishment that needed to be, and then get up and go do it again. Mothers controlled the neighborhoods. We don't have that now. Okay? This is a generation that does this. And does this all the time. It's hard to get kids out of the house.
So you're saying it's a social detachment.
We have been attacked. Okay? Now the culture is, long as you low key and all that, not stirring up anything, you're good. But you're under attack. Okay? And society has already set you up to fail. Okay? Society has already said it. 99% of the people in the detention home are black. 99% of the people in the jails are black. Set up. We've been set up. We didn't have that. See what I'm saying? We didn't have that when we were growing up. All right? Our dads would, boy. Okay? Now that's a word I won't use now. Okay? I tell them in the detention home when I walk in there, I don't ever want to hear that N-word. Because you have no clue what that means. So I don't want to hear you when you're coming out. I don't want to hear that word. And if I hear that word from you, I'm telling them to put you back in your cell.
So what are some things that you would like to see out of Elyria? for one and the black community in Elyria?
I'm not going to see anything out of the black community.
What would you like to see? I mean, if you had a wish list, I mean, this is
Involvement.
okay.
I go to city council in Elyria, and there may be 3 of my culture there. Okay? But then you go on Facebook and they're complaining about every single thing that's done. You don't get it done on the book.
You're set up to fail. They want you to do everything on the book. Because
Yeah,
they watch it.
that's harmless, right?
They want you to see. They're watching the police are watching every single thing that you do. Because you're stupid enough to put it on the book.
Yes.
Plain and simple. You brag about how much money. Look, I done made $5,000. No, you don't have a job. But you putting it on the book, how much money
Oh,
you
no,
done
you
made.
got to spread it out, all the cash on the bed.
See, so you asked me what would... I don't know whether I would live long enough.
What would you like to see? That's what I'm saying. I mean, if your wish is rather I mean, you're in Ridgeville, so you forgot all about us numbers.
Nah. I would love to see more minority participation in politics
Okay.
and in businesses.
Yes.
That's where you begin to grow.
Right.
My daddy always said the biggest fear of the white man is the educated black man. That is the biggest fear. He didn't say black women. He said educated black man. Because no matter what, the black man is still the anchor of the family.
Yes, he is.
Okay, not the boss, but the anchor. I'm the anchor of this house, but my wife is my
She's the
boss.
boss.
See, there's a difference.
She's
If we have a dispute, we can sit and we can talk about it without yelling, shouting, yelling. Well, God said I'm the man of the house. No, you got to earn that title to be a man. Okay? Example, look at lions. Females out there hunting and all that. When they have a problem, all they got to do is growl a certain way. And the male comes in out of nowhere. He solves the problem. Then he goes right on back doing what he's doing. That's the way it's supposed to be. Nature had it set up that way. That's exactly the way it's supposed to be.
In illustrating that journey and going through just the different parts of United States history that Elyria is encompassed with. So, you guys remember when Dr. King was shot and killed.
Mm-hmm.
What was you all's take on that and the energy when that happened, when Dr. King was killed? Scary? Was it scary for the black community? Sad? I mean, what was the emotion?
My emotion was, we're done. Because I would go deeper than just Dr. King. I would look at his cabinet around him. A lot of people was on their coattails, on his coattails, okay? And now you look where they are. Did you see anybody actually
Carry that on.
Not really. Not really. By name, okay?
They would reference him.
But yeah. Okay, we're done.
What was your feeling?
I felt like our only hope was gone. I felt like God put him in that place and the enemy took him out too soon. And that our hope, nobody picked up what he was doing in the sense that he felt and knew it was a call. When you know your purpose, when you know your call, whatever term you want to use, nothing backs you down from it. You stand there.
No matter what.
No matter what. And he knew his call and his purpose. And the people around him, they honored him, they respected him. But nobody wanted to step where he was stepping. In other words, as a leader, what's supposed to be happening is you're training your next replacement. Whether you live or die, you should always, I was taught you should always be training your replacement. Whether or not you call it that, because if what you're doing is that important, it shouldn't die with you.
We've had so many other groups
Raise
that
up.
had so-called rallies and stuff, and they'll show it all and everything, and then it'll be gone. He was able to rally people on a regular basis, okay? And people felt nervous about what he was doing. Way back in the 60s, this man is capable of running this nation.
Yeah,
We can't have that.
Right.
We can't have that.
That'll take
They,
him out.
they don't fear any group that's out there now.
Oh no,
There's not a group out there right now, and there's a lot of them out there.
because
They don't
they're
fit in.
out there to be famous or to be seen or to be the whatever. If it's not a total life commitment, if it's not a call, if it's not your purpose, you see, you've got to figure out, why are you doing what you're doing? Am I doing this so that my name, my flag gets on one of those things down on Elyria? Don't put my name up there.
I can't even imagine, okay, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Harvey, my dad in today's society.
Oh, my lambs.
Think about it. Think about it.
They would be a force to be reckoned with, because they would not only have the strength, they would have the money. And money
See?
rules, honey.
See?
They would have the money, because they were starting to get accolades from out of Lorain County. Whether or not we want to admit that Lorain County is closed, is that the right way?
Yeah, you can
Control.
say
How can I say it?
it's secretly controlled. Secretly controlled.
Okay. So
Okay.
whether or not we want to acknowledge that that's what is, whatever group you join, watch the leaders.
Can you imagine?
See what they own.
Can you imagine?
Check it out.
Can you imagine?
See what color they are. I'm sorry.
Mrs. Harvey walking downtown, pitching a fit nowadays, or Mr. Nelson walking downtown, pitching the fit. Guys, we can't even get the people to come out to celebrate Martin Luther King Day.
Thank you.
Okay, we can't even get to come out and do that.
They got off the job. Their kids are out of school, and they are home on their tablets, their laptops, their whatever, because
not-
they don't understand the importance of what you have. Is because somebody over here paid the price for you to have it.
That's it.
Somebody marched. Somebody
That's it.
got things thrown at them. Somebody got called names. Somebody lost their job so that you could
Somebody
have
got
one.
killed.
Somebody died.
I would say this, and this generation, they just learn different. They take in different ways. So how I do it, I put my daughter in that situation, and I show her documents on how I make it relatable to her, and in the years when it happened, and I would say people that was related to her during this time. Your grandfather, your great-great-great-grandfather was 9 years old. You're 9 today. During his day, he was worth $400. Today, you're priceless. For me, I think they're just learning. They just learn different. They comprehend different. That's why I say there's nothing wrong with them. They just comprehend.
That's why
different.
I break it. That's why I break it down to their own level in the
You have
detention
to.
home.
You have
I try to break it down into doing simple stuff like, what's your favorite cereal? Okay, I go around the room. What's your favorite cereal? And they would tell me all that, and then I asked them, "Did you have that this morning?" No, man, we had this old stale Cheerios and all that. I said, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That you're not getting your favorite? Something simple, just like that. Okay? You're not getting your favorite cereal. And I said, I just came back from Christmas. Where were y'all a year ago?
Oh, you're antagonizing.
Oh yeah.
He hurt your feelings.
Where were y'all a year ago? Well, last year I was at Christmas, but look where you are now. Okay? Y'all got to think. You have to think. And I tell them, hate this place. Not the people. Hate the place. so that you don't want to come back here. Hate that little tiny square breakfast, lunch, and dinner tray that you give you. And you can't sit down at your own table and eat your own food and all that. Hate the place, okay? Become strong enough that you can get out there and tell, because when you get out, the same people that put you there, they can be out there. Mm-hmm. You got to become strong enough to say, I'm not going back. Mm-hmm. I'm not going back.
Is he good or what?
And I tell them, I say, guys, I'm 72 years old. To this day, I have never ever drank, smoked, or cussed. Did I get abused? I went through 4 years of the Navy. Did I get abused? You darn right I did. But once they realized I wasn't going to change, I became their best friend. Because now they know they can get out there and get as drunk as they want. Jerry get them back to the ship on time. You see what I'm saying? You got to be strong. Okay? Hate the place. Not the people, the guards. They just got the job to do. Hate the place. So that you don't want to come back here again. If you got a little brother, little sister, turn your focal point on them so that you can be a better person for them. Not the buddies out in the street. I said, my sons decided to leave home when they turned 16 because they didn't like our rules. One of them is dead, one of them is in jail. So he said, we're not perfect, but they had the roots. They had the ground floor of what it takes, but they made the choice. So y'all have choices now. You have choices now. Hate the place to the point that you don't want to come back here.